When is lead guitar thrilling? It's when your fingers play those notes that send shivers down your spine. Well, get your spine ready. This week I'm announcing our first community-wide event. It's called Unlock the Thrills of Lead Guitar. So stay tuned. Hello and welcome, friends, to this episode of the Play Guitar Podcast. I'm Lee. This is a podcast that's determined to make you a better guitar player. No matter if you're just starting out or you've been playing for years, this is the show that'll help you become the guitarist that you always wanted to be. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe to the podcast and check the description for all of the links right from the show. Too fast, right? I'm excited about something. This is really... So let me start here. So we're going to have a different kind of episode today. This is an announcement episode. We're going to announce our first live community event. Everything's growing here. The social media is growing. The coaching is growing. The academy is growing. We're getting a lot of new eyeballs on all the stuff that we've been helping people for years with. So this is wonderful things. And so this is something I've been wanting to do for a long time. And so let's see here. Let's slow down, take a deep breath. And I'm going to start from the beginning. Okay. Play Guitar Podcast. What's the story from this podcast? I started this community, really, this podcast and the community, to help frustrated guitar players become the guitar player that they always wanted to be. That's the main purpose. That's been from day one. And that's what we've been doing over and over and over again, helping people. I've been helping students. I've been paying attention. To every email. I've been asking questions to people who I come in contact with who are learning guitar. I've been experimenting with different techniques with my students. What works the best? What doesn't? Well, in all this, I've found what the number one problem is by far with the people who I've been in contact with. And that's improvisation, aimless soloing. Now, the rhythm guitar people here, don't worry. I've got something coming for you too. I'm building something for you next. But the big one is it's the people who are struggling to play some lead guitar that sounds good. Why is that? Why do some of us sound great playing our scales, really? And why do the rest of us struggle? And, well, it's scales being used incorrectly. I guess some people may have developed an ear ahead of time, or maybe they just took to the scales right away in a way that's where they're listening. What notes do what there? But that wasn't the way I started. That's not the way a lot of other people started. And of course, that's the problem. Why? Is because we're given scales, and we're given scales with no instructions. No, here you go. Good. Get out there, play a little guitar, see what happens. And we all see what happens. And it's interesting. It's exhilarating, the fact that we are playing. We're playing guitar, lead guitar, just like the people we want to sound like, right? But then when you listen back, you go, oh, there's more to it than this. There's more to it than just, well, here's the key and here's the scale that goes with that key, and it's all going to work out great. We all learn that pretty quickly. The problem is, at that point, there's no real help past that. So I've done some looking into this, and I've created something. You've heard about it before. It's called Solos That Make Sense. I opened it up for people who wanted to do a pre-order with that. So these are my brave people who came in and gave them a big discount on it. And they came in, and I've been dripping out the modules over time to them. What is it? It's a training where I use a mix of two things. Chord tone, that's only using chord tones for soloing, and then chord scale, which is only using the scale notes for soloing. Mixing the two together can easily get anyone to experience what it feels like to play a professional guitar solo. Then you will know why it sounds that way. And then you also know what to take from it. What can I use in other things to continue this, to sound like a pro player in all of my solos? What can you take in your own playing? And that's targeting the chord tones as you use the familiar scales that you've been working on. I've had a group of you take me up on this pre-order. And as these things have been dripping out, it's been going really, really well. A lot of great feedback, a lot of light bulb moments. It's great to see the results of the encouragement that this course is giving. Solos that make sense. It instills these encouraging feelings like you've got it. You can do this. This is not something that only some people can do and other things that you can't. What does it do? There are things that you can do to connect the whole process. And that's what we learn when we go through that. And it gives you great results. One thing you can do is you can take charge of the emotion of a guitar solo with choices that you make. Not just how you're feeling at the time. There are certain things that you can do. I want this to be a sad solo. I want this to be an angry solo. I want this to be a tense solo. There are certain note choices that you can make to make that happen, no matter how you're feeling at the time. Okay. We're also learned to use to our advantage the greatest gift we have as lead guitar players. And that's the chord progression itself. Understanding the chord progression, using it to get what we want out of our solo. And also it trains you, this course, to easily build your ear. Isn't that a funny thing? The musical ear, you hear it all the time. And what does that exactly mean? It's recognition from listening. When you hear something, to know where you are at the time, just by listening to the song as it's going on, and to be able to use these techniques on the fly when they would be most appropriate to push your solo, push your improv over to the edge, to the good stuff. It's set up where each module has you learning an easy but an awesome solo in the beginning, and that uses this style of chord tone targeting. Also, you get in-depth training on the easy reasons why it works. You'll understand what you're doing. There's not a lot of understanding what we're doing in regular guitar playing. It's just following, right? This is understanding and then learning how you can use this stuff in your everyday playing. And finally, what this course does, it gives you an easy exercise you can add to the daily practice, something you just do every day without thinking. And it sneakily trains you to get your ear to hear these strong and weak notes as you increase your creative and fantastic solo skills. So you're going to want this. It's designed to be the next step, a no-brainer for anyone who has an interest in creating fantastic melodies with the guitar. This is going to be released in July, end of second week in July. There's going to be some bonuses for people who grab it then, and it's going to be a real game changer for your playing if you're frustrated with this. This is not the Academy. This is a separate thing. So it's not a recurring payment. This is just a one-time purchase. But that is not why we're here today. This is just to set up what we're about to talk about, the event. I have something even bigger to announce that's available to all of the members of this community, not the page, to everyone. And it's something that I haven't done at all before. So I'm here to announce our first free live event. It's called Unlock the Thrills of Playing Lead Guitar. This is a free 3-part live course. I'm going to do it on July 10th, which is a Monday, July 11th, which is Tuesday, and July 12th. We're going to meet one time a day, I think at 11 a.m., all 3 days. And it is awesome. It's fun. It's on July 10th, the day one. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to get together, and we're going to get together for this training. We're going to start understanding scales and modes for guitar solos. It's going to be an overview that takes us, by the end of it, targeted into what to do. What do I do to make these things happen? Day 2, July 11th. This is time for navigating the fretboard and identifying notes, being able to make sense of this thing and to use it at a moment's notice and understand the notes under your fingers. Do you know all the notes that are under your fingers when you're playing guitar? It's not a, you know, I hope you do. I hope you, if you listen here, I'm sure you've been trying to. So, and so we'll deal with that. And then finally on day 3, this is July 12th, the last day. I'm going to close this out with something called melodic structure. This is creating memorable and expressive guitar solos. This whole event, all 3 days, this is the logical first step before solos that make sense. So if you've been thinking, oh, maybe the chord tone targeting, that's a little too much for me, I'm not really along there yet. Well, I have something for free for you before that happens. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm recording each of these days, and these are going to be released later as a paid course in part of the academy. But to celebrate all the fantastic members of the community, you are going to be behind the scenes on this. You can get it all. Get in on it, be a part of the whole thing for free. So make sure you grab your spot, get access to this big event. All you have to do is register at playguitarevent.com. I'm going to put this link into the show notes of this and all of the different episodes as we go. I'm really excited about this. And I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about it. This is one of the really, really, really big problems that a lot of people have. And some people don't even know it. Some people, the ear hasn't developed yet where they realize that they're playing strong notes and weak notes in all the wrong places. Without spoiling anything too much, I'd like to give you a little bit of what we're going to be talking about in the event. One of the things we're going to talk about is borrowed chords. This is something that throws everyone, really threw me when I first started trying to figure this out. At the point where I realized, okay, my scales and my chords, they have to match, and that the chords come from the scale, something that we talk about all the time here on the podcast, right? When all of a sudden I would get to a chord that wouldn't work. I would get to a chord that never sounded right no matter what I played over it. The only way I could play over that is if I figured, well, what's the root note of that chord? And I'll just play that note while that chord's there. And I'm not going to touch any other notes to that. So sometimes we borrow some chords from different sounds, different modes, right? The major and minor are actually 2 modes of the major scale, the Ionian and the Aeolian, right? So what we can do is, and it happens very often, is say we don't like the way the 5 chord goes to the 1 chord in minor. That's the one that we talk about a lot. We could borrow that 5 chord from the major scale, the way it works and functions in the major scale for a few minutes, and then go back to the minor. It takes us away from that full minor sound, but it still has a strong sound. It sounds very confusing. We're going to be getting into this a little bit. How you deal with things like that. How can you play over these chords that don't seem to work no matter what scale that you're working on? And, you know, we've got plenty of time during the event to really unpack this. And when you sign in, there's going to be an agenda for the whole event that you can download that's going to put these things in order for you. You know, what do you do when you get to a chord like that? Do you just try and figure, well, what are the notes in that chord, and I'll just play those? Or how do you go and say, well, this is borrowed from somewhere else? How are you supposed to know those things? So we're going to get into those a little bit as well too. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and call it for today. This is just, you know, a very special episode to announce this. I'm very excited, and please go over and sign up for the registration today. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up right now. But I just want to make sure that you head over to playguitarevent.com, sign up, get your spot for this 3-day event. Make sure you're there too. This isn't something that that's going to be out there. You're a behind the scenes participant in this. You're going to be helping me record it. And then you can let me know what you think as we're going through it. That'll be interesting too. But make sure you get over there, and I'm going to call it that's a wrap. Thanks for joining me today for the Play Guitar podcast. Make sure to hit the button below to subscribe to the show. And if you have benefited from this podcast, please leave an Apple Podcast iTunes review. It's the best way to make sure we get this very valuable content to more guitar players around the world. And if more help, structure, and results are in your guitar playing sound good to you, what are you waiting for? Play Guitar Academy is here. It's open. Join the world's most exciting and carefully planned system, and together we will build your online home base for guitar. Thanks again, and I will see you back next week. Bye-bye.